Hello everybody, David Shuster here. Canadians are now going over the boards, as they say in hockey, and hitting back hard at the United States. President Trump has imposed a 25% tariff on all goods coming in from Canada and Mexico. Here is Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, Canada's most populated and economically powerful province.
It's going to be an absolute disaster for both countries. We're your largest trading partner. I don't want to respond, but we will respond like they've never seen before. You need our uranium, you need our potash, you need our high-grade nickel. I will stockpile our high-grade nickel at 50% of your military and manufacturing needs, your aluminum, the steel, the lumber. It will be an absolute disaster. And this is all due to one person, that's President Trump.
President Trump keeps condemning the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States, even though Canada accounts for less than 1% of the fentanyl in the United States. A month ago, President Trump paused his tariff threats when Canada committed to spending $1.3 billion in new border security measures. But there are reports that Donald Trump was embarrassed when he learned that Canada was following through on a commitment first made to the Biden administration. So now Donald Trump is talking again about fentanyl and about punishing Canada economically.
President Trump is calling today's tariffs a powerful weapon, a weapon that will now be wielded on food, lumber, electronics, cars, anything that comes into the U.S. from Canada and Mexico.
It's a very powerful weapon that politicians haven't used because they were either dishonest, stupid, or paid off in some other form. And now we're using them.
The move could wound American consumers, too, as producers pass along that new 25% tax, driving up the cost of a small car by an estimated $6,200, or an SUV by $9,000.
Chrystia Freeland, Canada's former finance minister, who is now a candidate for prime minister, is also talking about the automobile industry. And she's pledging back to hit back on U.S.-made Tesla vehicles in a way that will double their price. So the base model Tesla, which is currently about $50,000, will cost in Canada $100,000, crashing Tesla sales, which under Elon Musk are already down.
100% tariffs on Teslas. I think that should get some attention in the White House. And, Jen, I think people, Americans, I don't think you think about Canada all that much. But I think when you do think about Canada, you might think, oh, they're smaller than us. Is this really something I should be worried about? Well, the stock market is worried. Shares have gone down, and this has been a terrible year for U.S. stocks already because of these tariff threats. And the reality is, you guys need us. We are your largest market by far.
In fact, the United States sells more goods to Canada than to China, the UK, and France combined. So diminishing Canada's appetite for U.S.-made products will hurt the U.S. economy. And the U.S. economy is already in some trouble. You heard Freeland talk about the U.S. stock market, which dropped 2% the other day after Donald Trump announced the tariffs. The U.S. stock markets, since President Trump took office in January, are in the red. That means the U.S. stock markets have lost value. European stock markets, since Donald Trump took office, have increased value. The U.S. trade war with Canada, Mexico, and China is another economic drag on all three countries. And the Wall Street Journal, which is owned by the Murdoch family, not exactly liberals, is now calling Donald Trump's actions the dumbest trade war in history. And war is the right term, according to America's most successful investor, Warren Buffett. He spoke to CBS News.
Tariffs are actually, we've had a lot of experience with them. They're an act of war to some degree.
How do you think tariffs will impact inflation?
Over time, they're a tax on goods. I mean, the tooth fairy doesn't pay them. I mean, and see, you always have to just, and then what? You always have to ask that question in economics. Always say, and then what?
The tooth fairy doesn't pay the tariffs, consumers do, says Buffett. And then what? Trump defenders believe this is all part of a negotiation ploy by Trump to get better trade terms for the United States. Never mind that the last trade deal between the United States, Mexico, and Canada, which ripped up and replaced NAFTA, was negotiated by Donald Trump in his first term. Given the awful reaction of U.S. and global markets to the Trump tariff decisions now, White House aides are already saying that the tariffs will be reviewed quickly with the hope for some new deals within weeks. But again, Canadian leaders point out that they have been negotiating in good faith with the Trump team for months, and that Trump slapping the United States' best friend and closest ally is no way to reach a new level of understanding or trust. Canadians are calling the Trump actions dangerous, and they're pledging to respond in kind.
If he wants to destroy our economy and our families, I will shut down the electricity going down to the U.S. And I'm telling you, we will do it. It's unfortunate. I would rather ship you more electricity, ship you more critical minerals. I want to ship you more energy, more potash to keep your farmers going, and uranium that you use for your nuclear power. It comes through from Saskatchewan over to Ontario, and it's going to be a massive, massive problem. I'm telling you, we love Canadians love Americans. I love the U.S. Everyone does. And not one American friend. When I lived there for 20 years, I've talked to all of them. Hardcore Republicans are saying this is the biggest mistake President Trump has done, and we're dead against it.
Stand against it. The morbid terms underscore the seriousness and frustrations in Canada. If there is a silver lining, it's that Americans also seem to be coming around to the stupidity of this trade war and the impact it will have on the U.S. economy. Polls show a clear majority of Americans now oppose the U.S. tariffs, and according to a widely respected survey organization, consumer confidence in Trump's handling of the U.S. economy is crashing. One can only hope that Donald Trump, perhaps under pressure by his own party, will change course and drop the tariffs. In the meantime, America's closest ally, Canada, is pledging to take down the U.S. economy in response to Trump harming the livelihoods of our neighbors to the north. And unlike in hockey, where fights have certain understood rules, this brawl may have no limits, and it's already getting ugly. By the way, Donald Trump's Vice President, J.D. Vance, just got taunted to his face at a Vermont ski resort.
There's some new video now we have showing the Vice President being greeted by protesters holding anti-Vance, pro-Ukraine signs as he makes his way there to Vermont for a ski resort vacation. More protesters met the Vance family outside of the resort, and the family ultimately had to move to an undisclosed location.
Check out that video at the link below. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.